Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Final week of the season here on Destiny 2. So, the upcoming Nightfall for this week is going to be the Devil's Lair Nightfall. So, here are some builds for the Warlock. I do want to say as well, I appreciate those who have come along and checked out some of those other videos that I upload. I upload pretty much every week a GM build, and I will re-upload another video of the same GM like I did last week, but with updated builds just in case there are some more effective ways, because obviously everything changes amongst the season. So some nerfs can drastically affect some exotic builds, and some gear that I was providing or saying gets cut off. But back into the video anyway. So the first build for a Warlock you want to be using is pretty much just whoops, a Fallen Sunstar build. Again, this week I'm not even going to say use Solar. If you're going to use Solar, it's more for kind of a speedrun type tactic, but I would say just triple arc Warlock is like a 15-minute run, clean as day. I've done it from experience, but here's what you want on a Fallen Sunstar build. Just remember, Fallen Sunstar can be swapped out for Crown of Tempest, just varying on what you like better. Me, I am more into just grenade spam, so Fallen Sunstar is the way to go. Obviously, you want to use Kinetic Siphon, Heavy Ammo Finder, Ashes to Assets. Then you want Fastball, Bolstering Detonation, Firepower, Triple Resist mods. You want to have Insulation, Kinetic Weapon Surge, and Innovation. You're not going to use your Heavy as often as what you think. The boss is quite weak and easily killable, as well as most of the adds in the area. Powerful Attractions and Double Bomber. Obviously, we use the main mods throughout the season, like I've announced in every other video. Shock and Awe, Lightning Strikes Twice, Electric Armor, Countercharge, Amped Up, and Thunderous Retort. Across any arc build, those are the mods you want to use. For mods here, I use Arc Soul, I use Electrostatic Mine, Spark of Shock, Spark of Magnitude, Spark of Volt, and Spark of Ions. Then for my grenade, I use Pulse Grenade with Ball Lightning, as well as Healing Rift, Burst Glide, and Chaos Reach. I will never recommend using Storm Trance unless Storm Trance gets a buff. I will be dead set honest with you, in a resilience department, you want to just be using Chaos Reach for this. It also does have a short base cooldown, which is more effective. Alright, for the next one, it's just simple. Going off of the previous build, same mods and everything, pretty much same base setup. But Heavy Ammo Finder, Kinetic Siphon, Ashes Assets, Firepower, Bolstering Detonation, Fastball, Triple Mod Resist, Insulation, Kinetic Weapon Surge, Innovation, Powerful Attractions, and Double Bomber. Then, obviously, I don't have anything changed here. It's the exact same. I think the only mod that I did change was my second one, and that is to Spark of Volt, so I have maxed out Recovery. For Warlock, there isn't a lot to use, like I said. The only other build I can really highly recommend is the Cenotaph build, and you can swap this between Solar and Arc, varying on what you want to use. If you want to use the build that I use for Solar, here's what I'd use. Kinetic Siphon, Special Finder. That is more for your Scout, so obviously for your secondary, because you want to be using a Trace Rifle with the Cenopath Mask, as well as Heavy Ammo Finder again. Firepower and Double Momentum Transfer. Next, you want to be using Triple Resist here. With Momentum Transfer, be careful, varying on your grenade. Me, I swap between grenades, so if you're going to do what I do and swap between your grenades, I would recommend swapping this out constantly for other mods. But in general, I probably more or less use solo grenades, so this helps me out. Kinetic Surge, Insulation, Innovation, Distribution, and Double Bomber. I don't use Powerful Attractions with this type of build because I don't really create a lot of orbs, to say the least. Even though I have Firepower there, I'm not spamming abilities as often as what you think. To go into what I use personally, I swap between Healing Nade and Solar Nade. So Solar Nade, Incinerator Snap, Burst Glide, Healing Rift, Wall of Radiance, obviously, Ember of Torches, Ember of Singeing, Ember of Searing, Ember of Benevolence, Icarus Dash, and Touch of Flame. Varying on what you want to use, you can actually take away Icarus Dash for something like Heat Rises, or vice versa, Touch of Flame for Heat Rises, but that's varying on what you want to use. I feel Touch of Flame and Icarus Dash is a better combination at the end of the day. We'll move on to the Titan builds next, and then we'll do the Hunter last. And exciting news, I'll put it at the end of the video in a bit of a screenshot so people can do it if they want a new controller, mouse, keypad, or keyboard. If you haven't already guessed, then you can try and guess it on the way there. Alrighty, onto the Titan now. So with the Titan, here's what you want to be using. This is personally my favorite build to use for this Nightfall in particular, and that's just my Thunder Crash build with Cures of the Falling Star. And this is what I use for the run myself. A lot of people can vary to what they want to use. It's just all about choice. But I use Harmonic Siphon, Ashes to Acids, Heavy Ammo Finder, and then just heavy-handed bolstering detonation and an arc loader, because normally I'm using an arc weapon like forbearance. I don't normally use overload too much. I use kind of like grenade spam and jolt spam for that. I use normally an elemental reserve for whatever weapon I'm using in my heavy slot. This case it was swapping between kind of Galahorn and a stasis rocket. Harmonic reserve, so that actually goes into an arc mod but as one, so it's no difference, it's the same thing but it's just your subclass. And a resistance to whatever the other element is. I would recommend void over solar. Then incineration, whatever element I'm using as my heavy weapon, and same with the scavenger, whatever element my heavy weapon is. Bomber and double distribution, I don't really use, again, powerful attraction. You can take away one distribution for powerful attraction if you like. And the mods are exactly the same from the artifact here across like my walk build. There isn't a lot on the Titan, so it's normally basically the same shit because they don't really do a lot of work on them, to say the least. But otherwise, Touch of Thunder, Knockout, Pulse Grenade, Seismic Strike, Catapult Lift, Thruster, Thunder Crash, Spark of Magnitude, Spark of Shock, Spark of Resistance, and Spark of Ions. With Catapult and Thruster and all that type of shit, I should say, with Thruster, if you're going to use Towering Barricade, do not do it in a team location. Use it more of a solo type thing. Rally Barricade, obviously still beneficial, but I believe Thruster is probably the best out of all of them because it's just a quick little evade. You can swap this out for Heart of Immortal Light as well. This is actually the exact same build as my Heart of Immortal Light. There is no change. As you can see, it's just an armor swap. That's all it is. Otherwise, the only other build that I'm going to recommend for this week, and this is by your choice, you don't have to, is the Second Chance armor build. So I've been using this quite frequently, not too much compared to what others have been using it or how others seem to feel about it. I don't think it's that bad of an exotic, to be honest. I've done some work with her and made quite a viable build that a lot of people are going to underestimate, but here is what it is. Harmonic Siphon, so that's Void Siphon, but only costs one. Hands-on, Heavy Ammo Finder, heavy-handed, double Font of Vigor, and a triple build resist here. Absolution, Kinetic Surge, Invigoration, Outreach, Distribution, and Reaper. And then for my mods, obviously here, this is what you want to be using. You want to be using Supernova, Protective Breach, and Onto the Breach. As well as for these mods, you want to have Controlled Demolitionist and Bastion. You can swap out Bastion if you want to the other one, which I believe is Offensive Bulwark. I like to have Bastion and Controlled Demolitionist. I find that better. Vortex Nade, Shield Throw, obviously. You need Shield Throw to work with the Second Chance. Catapult Lift, Rally Barricade, Ward of Dawn. You can swap that out if you want. I would say it just varies on what your team loadout is. Echo of Starvation, Echo of Persistence, Echo of Undermining, and Echo of Instability. This is what I rock with this build, so it's more of a volatility build, but without the Heart of Immortal Light, and built into it a Second Chance build. So I hope you guys enjoy the Titan builds. We'll go on to the Hunter build last. And the Hunter builds are practically the easiest builds this week by far. Okay, last but not least is the Hunter. The Hunter, like I said, is the easiest builds by far. So all you want to be rocking this week is kind of two different builds, and they both are quite easy to rock, obviously. As you can see, I'm kind of just shadowing what to use, but we'll get straight to the point. So you either want to use an Assassin's Crow 1-2 punch build with something like a tractor cannon. I do want to advise this real quick, but if you're going to use this build, make sure your teammates are viable and understand the build sense. And while you're at it, go watch some builds that Vendetta does in some of his solo GM runs, and you'll understand why I concern this build as well. Otherwise, you can use this just as a average 1-2 punch build without the tractor cannon integrated. But here's what I use on the build personally. Don't worry about the weapons. I obviously don't show weapons because you guys have your own choices. I use harmonic siphon, heavy ammo finder, hands on, bolstering detonation, one firepower and one heavy handed. I use a double resistance mod here as well as harmonic reserves, normally using an arc weapon in my heavy, absolution, arc scavenger, and inversion, font restoration, and time dilation. Time dilation you can substitute for other things, it just varies on what you want. I would say just substitute that for a bomber and a distribution mod or something along those lines there. And then with font restoration, that's the same thing. You can substitute that if you want. I don't think it's a bad thing to keep it, especially if you don't have a high resilience like I do. I normally run dead set no resilience. The only other build that I was going to recommend for hunters is the Star Eater Scales. So this is just a nuke build, so it's obviously team up with people obviously to utilize the build. With my Arc Strider, none of the builds are mixed around, they're all the exact same across the subclass. But here's what I use. I just use Font of Wisdom, so I get my super back faster, with kills and obviously creating orbs, heavy ammo finder, firepower, impact induction, bolstering detonation. I would say you can do the same thing I do here, have the reserves and a double resist mod, whatever you're using, probably Void and Arc this week. Have a scavenger with a double Sturge mod with whatever surge you're using. Then use bomber, distribution, and time dilation, so these all last longer. These three last longer. Otherwise, here's what I use. I use lethal current, flow state. Yep, gotta double check that because I did change around some stuff. Arc, pulse grenade, combination blow, triple jump, marksman dodge, nope. Gamblers dodge, people. Gamblers, never marksman. Marksman is the worst dodge possible for an arc build. You want to use Gathering the Storm. Don't get me wrong, Arc Cypher is decent, but Gathering the Storm is what you want for this build. The amount of people who use Arc Staff, if you're going to use Arc Staff, I would say use a build that revolves around that with something like Raju's Harness or something. Personally, not Nightfall related, that's PvP oriented. Getting back to the point, so Gathering the Storm, Spark of Ion, Spark of Resistance, Spark of Feedback, and Spark of Shock. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. I'm sorry it wasn't so long in that. But the other thing I wanted to mention when I was on my walk is I am one of the newest partners to Cinch Gaming. So obviously there's going to be a bit of a screenshot at the end and the start of the new videos that start getting released. And that's just pretty much the discount code and the details you need to go to the website, obviously. I do hope you guys support me in proceeding in this because this is the first major partnership that I'm going into. It's not anything major with them, to say the least. It's just pretty much I advertise for them on my channels, whether it be Twitch or my YouTube, and you guys get a 5% discount off anytime you use my code. And all the code is just code FOX with a 0, not an O, because God knows how many Foxes are out there. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed. Like and subscribe for more content.